The sound WAH echoed through the white snowy valley, signaling chaos as a series of sudden magical attacks struck the enemy army, causing the ground to explode in a dazzling light. The skill Mechanical King was activated. A giant heavy cannon roared, firing decisively under the command, "Fire," shooting directly into the enemy front line amidst the blizzard. The cannonballs exploded within the enemy ranks, shaking the ground. Miserable screams rang out amid a series of fiery blasts, sweeping away both soldiers and war wolves. Amid the devastated scene, a figure dashed across the battlefield at extraordinary speed. Beneath her feet, automated devices slid through the snow as she performed a blink jump to approach her target. The skill magic upgrade was activated. Accelerated by magical devices, the warrior leapt into the air, surpassing the enemy's spear barrier, preparing for a direct aerial attack. Under the gray sky, the warrior unleashed the skill Whirlwind Kick, a fierce spinning kick, emitting a powerful shockwave that blew away anything within its radius. The impact from the spinning kick blasted the entire area, hurling rocks and enemies away, creating a rolling shockwave along the white snowfield, shaking the battlefield. At the center of our formation, Teresa raised her glowing sword high, casting divine power that enveloped allies in holy light. The enemy panicked upon realizing their attacks were nullified by this blessing. On the snowy cliff top, a commander riding a white wolf silently observed the situation tipping heavily in favor of the opponent. Facing divine power, his comrades cautiously suggested, "Lancelot, perhaps we should retreat." Lancelot clenched his teeth behind his mask, his eyes showing anger and helplessness. Though silent, his hesitation was clear. He understood that continuing would lead to irreparable losses. A brilliant holy light burst forth from the void, illuminating the entire snowy mountain range. The energy radiated not only brightly, but also carried a sacred pressure that violently shook the space. Ophelia distinctly felt an uneasy sensation spreading through the air. She was stunned as she recognized its source, a pure divine power diffusing from the battlefield. Her gaze grew sharp and frowning. Divine power was unexpected and had now become a major obstacle for her side in the ongoing battle. Seeing the sudden change in situation, Ophelia panicked and loudly called Bershan's name, warning her comrade who was directly confronting a dangerous enemy at the front line. While defending against attacks, Bershan remained alert enough to confirm what she had discovered. He also sensed the presence of divine power from close range. Immediately after confirming the threat, a new skill was activated, Blood Pool. A surge of blood erupted from the ground, surrounding the enemy with blazing red tentacles. The magical blood enveloped the target, twisting tightly into a glowing red life sphere, as if imprisoning the soul inside. The suppression effect seemed absolute. Bershan assessed that the situation had exceeded control. He ordered Ophelia to retreat, suggesting a temporary withdrawal to reassess strategy amid the overwhelming divine power. However, the blood sphere did not hold for long. A fierce flame burst from within, burning every strand of magical blood, signaling that a counterattack was beginning. Jinhyuk unleashed Fire Element, his sword engulfed in blazing red flames. He coldly reaffirmed his earlier warning that blood magic had no effect on him. As two enemy members jumped to retreat from the battlefield, Kang Jinhyuk's sharp gaze followed their every move. There was no sign of panic, only focus and waiting for the right moment to counterattack. Bershan gritted his teeth, turned midair, and shouted Jinhyuk's name with suppressed anger. He swore to personally kill the enemy, regardless of the situation or consequences. Before the threat could end, Bershan's eyes widened in surprise. He had noticed something, an unforeseen disturbance from below. From Jinhyuk's hand, a fierce blue energy surged like an icy blade tearing through the air. The sudden attack locked the opponent's escape route right in midair. Jinhyuk smirked sarcastically, his tone sharp as a knife. "What's wrong? Say it all then." The confidence in his eyes made the surrounding air grow colder. A dazzling blue energy column shot up to the sky like a giant waterfall of light, sweeping through a snowy forest area and causing the earth and sky to tremble violently. The crackling sound spread throughout the forest like a sign of collapse. Trees toppled, the ground cracked open, leaving a devastated scene on the battlefield. A cold wind swept across the destroyed land, blowing away shards of ice and ashes. Jinhyuk's energy had carved a wide path through the forest, as if splitting nature in two. Jinhyuk exhaled lightly, his expression cold but cautious. The silence after the attack made him briefly doubt the consequences he had caused. Looking down at his weapon and the quiet snowy sky, Jinhyuk muttered half-jokingly, "Did I really kill them?" At the same time, the system announced, "Second death-flagged dialogue recorded 2-4, signaling an ominous warning not to be ignored. Just as Jinhyuk thought he had controlled the situation with flames blazing around him, a prohibition icon suddenly appeared. His fire element skill was completely disabled, like an unexpected system restriction. Observing the phenomenon, Jin-hyuk calmly analyzed. Death-flagged dialogue still work, huh? He speculated silently that this ability might be related to vampires, acting as a counter-suppression skill against fire. Immediately after, a faint vibration came from Jin-hyuk's pocket, alerting him. His gaze hardened as he sensed an energy shift stirring inside his item. The necklace emitted an unusual red glow and a vibrating sound like a warning. A voice echoed in Jin-hyuk's mind, stern, "Hold back, Alice. It's not time yet." Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the Dangun Guild camp, where battle ruins still smoldered. Snow blanketed the area, but the remains of burnt tents showed significant damage. Amid the white snow, Teresa gently smiled with gratitude and bowed slightly. "Thank you all very much." Her words carried the sincerity of someone who had just faced near-death danger. Another Dangun member bowed in thanks, unable to hide his gratitude. "Without you guys, we wouldn't have survived." In response, Teresa smiled softly and said, "Don't mention it. Everyone's safety is what matters." A silver-haired man, Jang, the camp leader, silently looked at his guild emblem covered in snow and dried blood. His face was solemn, eyes filled with concern for the future. Teresa stepped closer, looking sincerely into Captain Jang's eyes. "Your camp suffered heavy losses. I think those demons will come back to attack." She did not hide her worry, though her tone remained calm. With a calm but determined demeanor, Teresa proposed a strategy. "Withdraw your strike team from the tower for a while. We, along with Jin-hyuk, will stay behind to defend." The conviction in her eyes made her words more persuasive than ever. Jang, the leader of the Dangun faction, quietly uttered the name Kang Jin-hyuk with a pale face, as if he had just confirmed that the familiar person had caused chaos once again. Teresa turned around, her eyes wide with surprise. She realized something amidst the ongoing conversations around her, something impossible to ignore. Kang Jin-hyuk appeared in the open space ahead, immediately greeted enthusiastically by an allied member waving and calling his name, breaking the tense atmosphere. Two close teammates joked as usual, teasing Jin-hyuk about his habit of being late. However, their relaxed attitude showed that the group was safe and reunited. Amid focused gazes, the black-haired girl's eyes glanced toward Jin-hyuk. She smiled with trust, wordless but full of meaning. From afar, another figure, a sharp swordsman, silently observed, admitting he did not expect Jin-hyuk to appear amid this chaos. Teresa made a calm assessment. Although the recent attack was stopped, the threat was not over, as the mastermind remained hidden in the shadows. A high-angle view showed the group gathering. While one person doubted that evil forces would dare target a large guild, another could not hide confusion over the chaotic situation. Jin-hyuk provided key information. The demonic faction had allied with high-level vampires from the upper floors of the tower, and was plotting something serious in this icy land. With a serious expression, Jin-hyuk continued sharing what he had learned so far, paving the way for the truth to be revealed. As the final pieces came together, the black-haired girl clenched her fists and solemnly concluded. The enemy was preparing for a large-scale outbreak, leaving the team stunned. The shocking information quickly spread, doubtful and anxious looks appearing on members' faces as the word outbreak stirred horrific memories of past tragedies. Jin-hyuk calmly explained, the ice troll monsters guarded the phoenix feather, a cold-resistant item. When combined with an item from another floor, they could open a teleportation gate, the key to a sudden invasion. The captain dressed in black expressed disbelief, considering the argument forced and lacking evidence. He doubted Jin-hyuk could deduce so much from just a few clues. Yet Teresa, though a brave warrior, could not suppress her fear. Her whole body trembled, instinctively reacting to the horrific prospect unfolding. That fear intensified as she blurted out, could this be an omen of a disaster as terrible as the outbreak in Amsterdam, where thousands perished? Despite the shock, a gentle hand rested on Teresa's shoulder, a comforting gesture that calmed her somewhat amid the storm of news. With resolute eyes, the man spoke firmly. That will not happen. He affirmed that Jin-hyuk's warning was not baseless. He surely had a plan ready. Without hesitation, the commander demanded Jin-hyuk immediately present his detailed plan. The tense atmosphere shifted to anticipation, all eyes fixed on him. Jin-hyuk gave his familiar smirk. In the falling snow, he casually joked, "You really know me well. Seems watching me wasn't pointless after all." The mood calmed, signaling a turning point was near. A cold wind swept across the rugged mountains, where the icy scene remained deathly silent. No one knew that beneath the snow, a secret plot was brewing. In the darkness of a deep underground chamber, two powerful vampires, Ophelia and Bershin, bowed to receive orders from their leader. The solemn atmosphere hung like a warning before the storm. The leader's hand held a shimmering glass of blood wine, each red drop falling silently. His voice rang out, full of suspicion and menace, targeting the newly emerged name, Kang Jin-hyuk. In the Dark Throne, the head of the vampire clan showed deep disappointment. He could not accept that the target had escaped despite being trapped, a failure unforgivable. Under extreme pressure, Bershin bowed his head in guilt. He justified that the unexpected clash caused the capture plan to fail, even though the target was just a lone human. Ophelia spoke with cold eyes. She noticed something strange. Kang Jinhyuk showed no surprise at their appearance, as if he had known about it long ago. The leader's steady voice emphasized the greatest suspicion. Did Jinhyuk truly know vampire skills to a disturbingly familiar degree? Ophelia nodded in affirmation. When Jinhyuk fought Bershin, he not only reacted with extreme proficiency, but also made her sense a familiar energy, something not human. That energy was the trace of Alice Fawn Ataraxia, one of the supreme beings of the vampire clan. It seemed her power still mysteriously lingered within Jinhyuk's body. The last drop of blood fell into the wine glass, creating a red ripple. The leader remained silent for a while, then whispered a question filled with deadly intent. Can you explain that? In the darkness of a cave glowing red with eyes, a monstrous creature with sharp teeth growled, blood dripping from its mouth as an unusual sign. It hissed confidently, revealing that the hunt for the target, a mysterious, concludes sooner than expected. A smile appeared on the half-hidden face in the darkness of the leader, a sinister, scheming smile. His fangs gleamed, revealing his vampire nature and expressing satisfaction upon hearing the unexpected progress from his subordinate. The powerful vampire sat relaxed on his throne, still holding the blood wine glass with lingering drops. Above, the informant hung upside down, drenched in blood. He nodded slightly and coldly said that at least this news made his mood somewhat better. Amidst the harsh, snowy landscape, advanced drones simultaneously took to the sky, creating a sharp whistling sound, marking the start of a carefully calculated campaign. Beneath the snow-covered canopy, Teeman operated the digital control system while Yonhwa silently observed the sky. The order was clear. Both would hold a remote support position, ready to act according to the plan. The drones were controlled to attract the attention of the spectral beasts, a key part of the strategy to disperse the enemy's firepower and clear the way for the main force to act. In another direction, Teresa and Stalker received orders to split up. But before frustration and the unpleasant nickname could take hold, the atmosphere quickly turned humorous, despite the upcoming mission being far from easy. Jinhyuk turned his back and gave the final command in a relaxed tone, as if life and death were everyday matters. Meanwhile, the disgruntled shouts of Stalker echoed behind him, seemingly not bothering him at all. At the Dangun Guild camp, chaos engulfed the atmosphere as members hurriedly prepared to retreat from the tower floor. The decision came after a series of heavy losses left them with no other choice. However, while everyone else fled, one person chose to stay. He stood amid the howling blizzard, ready to confront whatever lay ahead, even knowing the future was far from bright. Jinhyuk looked back at the one who decided not to leave, wondering why he followed him. The answer came from deep within that person, not because of orders, but because of something greater. The Snow Warrior affirmed that this territory belonged to the Dangun Guild and that he was responsible for it. The heavy snowfall did not stop his steps as he quietly asked, "Where are we going?" Jinhyuk answered briefly, as if the destination had long been predetermined. They were heading toward the freshwater lake, which might be the key to the next move in this life-and-death battle. The freshwater lake, the place where magical energy converges strongest on the 7th floor of the icy region, appeared amidst the white landscape, like a mysterious landmark silently watched by all forces. The chief of the Ice Tongue tribe often came to this lake whenever the tribe was in danger, where they could absorb pure magical power to restore balance during the most critical moments. And here a mysterious ritual was beginning, a surge of power like molten lava pouring down from the sky, reflected in the fiery red eyes and icy face of the giant creature. In the biting cold wind, the boy from Dangun Guild glanced cautiously around, watching every movement as if sensing something unusual approaching. At that moment, warriors of the Ice Tongue tribe, tall, blue-skinned, and heavily armed, appeared, growling threateningly. Their presence intensified the tense atmosphere. A female troll warrior stood out with sharp, curved fangs and fierce eyes, blocking the main tent and tightly holding a small child, affirming her determination to protect the tribe at all costs. Despite the threatening gaze, the boy steadfastly stepped forward, holding a trembling white flag in the snowy wind, a symbol of surrender but also a message of fragile hope for negotiation. Despite the biting cold, he could not hide his discomfort as he questioned why he had to carry the surrender flag instead of the one claiming to be the ruler of this land. But observing the silent reaction of the Ice Tongue tribe, he was surprised to admit everything was just as predicted. They did not attack first despite having reasons to do so. With a gentle smile, the human leader confirmed the suspicion. The ice troll tribes were not as savage as rumored. On the contrary, they were a species that valued honor, a key that could lead to peace. The leader further explained the true nature of the ice troll tribe, that they were not the savage creatures they were often labeled as, but rather lived simply, honestly, and always prioritized the safety of their family. With fierce eyes and a growling breath, a member of the ice troll tribe displayed instinctive vigilance, but refrained from rash action due to the presence of the white flag fluttering amidst the blizzard. Amid the tense scene, one of the companions stared suspiciously at the explanation. Deep inside, he still could not accept that those monster-like creatures could understand honor. The two advanced toward the center of the ice troll tribe, a great hall built from a giant skeleton. The atmosphere grew heavy as cold, sharp eyes watched them from both sides of the pathway. A deep voice echoed from within the great hall. Caracal, the ice troll tribe leader, partially hidden behind a beast mask, spoke, expressing curiosity about the one who had once defeated his tribe members barehanded. Caracal, the imposing leader, officially appeared. His gigantic body and bulging muscles radiated overwhelming pressure. He bluntly questioned why such a powerful being would so easily raise a white flag of surrender. The companion gaped in utter horror. Before him, Caracal looked no different than an ancient deity in ice troll form, so massive that the space seemed to sway. In panic, his hand loosened. The white flag, the symbol of surrender, fell onto the cold stone floor with a resounding sound, as if shattering the temporarily calm atmosphere. Kang Jinhyuk smiled slyly and calmly admitted he had never truly surrendered. The flag was merely a trick so the group could penetrate deep into enemy territory without bloodshed. Caracal's bright blue eyes widened in shock. The news of the fake surrender struck directly at the warrior chief's pride, marking the start of a dangerous and tense dialogue. In response to Jinhyuk's arrogant confession, Caracal, the Frostblade tribe chief, roared angrily. Insulted by the false surrender, he questioned Jinhyuk's honor as a warrior, his eyes burning with rage. The atmosphere in the great hall became tense. The troll warriors whispered reactions while Caracal could not hide his fury, wondering how Jinhyuk could calmly face him after such a shameful act. Unable to contain his anger, a powerful troll warrior swung a giant axe, the speed and weight making the surrounding air seem to crack. Caracal stepped forward with authority, declaring clearly, only an honorable death could cleanse this disgrace. Under ancient tradition, he officially challenged Jinhyuk to a death match. Heavy stomping echoed throughout the great hall. Another troll warrior shouted in agreement, signaling that the combat ritual was about to begin. Responding to the leader's declaration, the troll warriors followed with powerful stomps, demonstrating absolute loyalty and their fiery thirst for battle. Amidst the intense atmosphere, Jinhyuk turned to his teammate with a cocky smile and lightly asked, "Still want to be the commander?" The teasing in his words made the tension even more suffocating. The teammate could only remain silent, trembling all over. Cold sweat dripped down his cheek, proving his crisis in the face of the unpredictable situation. Jinhyuk smiled confidently as he saw his opponent accept the challenge. He summoned energy in his palm, preparing to enter an unforgiving battle, a performance he invited his fearful teammate to enjoy from the sidelines. At the same time, at the China Guild headquarters, a completely different scene was unfolding. The towering spire stood tall in the quiet night, signaling a force watching the developments in the distant snowy region. A cup was thrown and shattered on the floor, water splashing everywhere, expressing extreme anger. A furious shout echoed through the meeting room, marking the loss of control of a powerful figure over unacceptable news. He growled each word, his face flushed with rage, unable to believe that an army with 3 S-rankers was completely wiped out in the Goblin Forest. The fury from the humiliating defeat left him speechless. The humiliation not only made him furious, but also caused his teeth to grind. Though trying to stay calm, the anger and sense of loss burned like a fire consuming his mind. From behind, Mo Young-soo, the authoritative figure of the organization, coldly concluded the failure, affirming their helplessness against Kang Jinhyuk. In despair, the man begged for one last chance. Mo Young-soo remained unmoved, cutting him off mercilessly. He posed a harsh question about pride and demanded Chen immediately cease all actions related to Kang Jinhyuk. Chen's eyes glowed red with suppressed anger. His eyes twitched continuously, signaling a mental breakdown reaching its peak, a limit he could no longer endure. Unable to keep calm, Chen screamed wildly in the room, his mind burning with uncontrollable rage. He officially lost his reason after the humiliating disgrace. The scream echoed outside the China Guild headquarters, the dark night unable to hide the terrible curse. Chen swore to kill Kang Jinhyuk, roaring like a wild beast. As night fell, a group silently emerged from the city's shadows, gathering under streetlights. A new figure appeared, leading the group, intensifying the tense atmosphere. He clenched his fist, gritting his teeth as he whispered a deadly vow. "I will kill you," a venomous whisper directed at Kang Jin-hyuk, signaling the start of a bloodthirsty revenge plot. Before Caracol's roar had faded, another deadly aura suddenly appeared from behind. A stranger with a concealed face, glowing eyes, and a sword in hand stepped forward from the surrounding shadows. He growled the name Kang Jin-hyuk with fierce intent, his killing vow like a curse. Not giving his opponent a chance to act, Caracol's giant hammer spun in the air, producing a sharp whistling sound. It tore through the air as if heralding a fury about to descend on the battlefield. With full force, Caracol swung the hammer down on Jin-hyuk with tremendous power. However, Jin-hyuk did not dodge but blocked directly, though pushed back. He stood firm against the heavy blow. Caracol did not stop. He began to inhale deeply, his icy beard trembling with each breath. It was the sign of a signature skill, a move that could affect the entire battle line if not stopped. The ultimate technique, Chief's Roar, was officially activated. A blazing red sonic wave burst from Caracol's mouth, shaking the ground and compressing the air, signaling a devastating wide-range attack rushing forward. Unfazed, Jin-hyuk lightly raised his hand and drew a line in the air. The defensive skill, Distorted Barrier, was activated, a level 2 magical shield capable of redirecting the opponent's attack. As Caracol's red roar surged forward, the barrier immediately bent the energy wave's trajectory. Thanks to the distorted shield, Jin-hyuk not only survived but also pushed back the attack as a sophisticated counterstrike. Amidst the chaotic scene, Jin-hyuk maintained a confident smile. In his heart, he admitted that although he had been here many times before, Caracol was stronger than expected, a troll with power far beyond the normal standard. Without hesitation, Jin-hyuk continued to deploy his next skill, Ice Sculpture. His eyes gleamed with determination to cast an ice-level spell, preparing to unleash a freezing punishment that could turn the tide of battle. From above, giant ice spikes fell like a furious waterfall. Caracol looked up, stunned to see a barrage of sharp ice blades raining down on him, marking the start of Jin-hyuk's devastating counterattack. The final critical strike landed. Sharp ice spikes like blades plunged from the sky, crushing the enemy under tremendous pressure. The troll lord had no time to react, only able to groan in pain as his body froze piece by piece. The land shook with a thunderous explosion as the giant troll's body was completely forced down onto the stone floor. Kang Jin-hyuk, wielding two swords, seized the opportunity and dashed forward like lightning to end the fight. A strange purple light flared in Jin-hyuk's eyes as he channeled all his killing intent and magical power into his sword. This strength was not just physical, it was authority, a skill honed through hundreds of life-and-death battles. With a powerful and decisive slash, the black sword pierced straight through the monster's skull. Dark energy flowed along the blade's path, ending the massive creature's life in an instant. The troll thrashed unconsciously, blood spraying from its mouth and eyes. It could not believe it had been defeated so swiftly, once undefeated atop this snowy mountain. Kang Jin-hyuk landed gently, leaving behind a scene of devastation and an unimaginable victory. Witnesses of the battle, both trolls and humans, were left speechless in shock. One member of the expedition gasped in amazement, eyes wide open. In less than 5 minutes, Jin-hyuk had defeated a boss-level monster, something that previously required an elite army. Lying among ruins and ice, the ice troll chief panted in defeat. Despite severe injuries, he maintained his dignity and requested to die honorably at the hands of the powerful opponent who had defeated him. Soft footsteps echoed across the icy land. Jin-hyuk approached without hesitation or fear, but his gaze lacked its usual coldness, showing a hint of contemplation. Sitting before the troll chief's body, Jin-hyuk calmly admitted he was not well versed in warrior honor, but knew the ice troll tribe's traditions well, and that would be the basis for his next decision. After accepting defeat with honor, the snow tribe chief lay flat on the ground, looking up at Kang Jin-hyuk. He solemnly reminded him of the tribe's sacred law. The loser in an honorable duel must absolutely obey the victor. No one can break that law. In a moment of reflection, Jin-hyuk revealed his first thought after victory. It was not joy or pride, but doubt. With the power he had just witnessed, he could not believe a leader like this could be easily defeated by demons or Decassus as rumored. Jin-hyuk's sharp question echoed in the silent space. Then why do you obey them? In the ruined scene where the loser lay at the victor's feet, he not only demanded an answer but also stirred suspicion about the truth behind the icy facade of this land. The chief's gaze shifted slightly, clearly showing confusion. He did not answer directly but confirmed Jin-hyuk's suspicion by naming those behind everything, Ophelia and Bershin, as if they were two powerful shadows pulling the strings of this entire region. Jin-hyuk calmly responded, affirming an important point. I do not obey them because I was defeated. His cold gaze and decisive words showed that he was not easily subdued by power or outward reputation. He wanted to know the true root of authority. The Snow tribe leader then admitted the real reason. He slowly bowed his head and softly said that his obedience was not to Ophelia or Bershan, but to someone entirely different, someone who had defeated him with power far beyond any comparison. His gaze shifted to the blizzard scene, where a lone figure stood in the wilderness. That shadow, needing no introduction, exuded a chilling pressure surpassing even the harsh nature, like a prophecy of an extraordinary entity. Finally, the identity of that figure was revealed. He was Michael, a high-ranking vampire of the Decassus clan. That name not only represented a powerful bloodline, but also symbolized the dominance of the dark nobility among the monster world and other races. With cold eyes piercing through the blizzard, Michael appeared untouchable. Even the Snow tribe leader had to admit, if confronted with him, even the entire tribe united would have no hope of victory, a being beyond the usual standards of combat strength. Lying motionless beneath the shattered rocks, Caracal, the Snow tribe warrior, gasped in despair. His eyes, once sparkling with pride, now held only bitter acceptance. Knowing the future was closed off for both his tribe and himself, he raised his head to look at the victor, not begging for mercy, but hoping for a worthy end. Faced with this bleak situation, Jinhyuk pondered deeply. The phrase, high-level vampire of the Decassus clan, repeated in his mind like a suspicious piece in the unfolding power puzzle. He began to realize the true mastermind behind everything was not the pawns on the board, but the one controlling them from the shadows. Ignoring the plea for death, Jinhyuk stepped forward, the light reflecting off the ice wall creating a cold halo behind him. He looked straight at Caracal, calmly but firmly calling his name, then made a surprising offer, to abandon death and instead start anew under his command. Jinhyuk's next words were not just a promise, but an order filled with hope. He affirmed he would bring a future to the Snow tribe, then reiterated the sacred rule Caracal himself had acknowledged. The loser must obey the winner. This obvious truth now became the foundation for a newly formed alliance. Immediately, Jinhyuk turned to a nearby guard and pointed at the motionless Caracal. Without much explanation, he declared he would leave the giant snowman as a temporary collateral. This act confused the guard, whose eyes darted between Caracal and Jinhyuk to confirm if he had heard correctly. A look of astonishment appeared clearly on the guard's face as he pointed at himself, unable to believe the unexpected role assigned to him. Guarding a creature just defeated in a deadly battle seemed beyond imagination, but he knew well, refusal was not an option. Suddenly, from afar, the combat system activated signaling danger. A dark projectile was launched, purple-black lightning tearing through the cold air. Two giant armored wolves charged at maximum speed, supported from behind by shadows using long-range reconnaissance devices. A deliberate attack was underway. One of the Vanguard team members immediately noticed something unusual. Tracking scattered snow traces and drone debris, he pointed out they kept finding abandoned reconnaissance devices. This illogical repetition made him suspect this was no ordinary scouting, but a deliberate lure. Elsewhere beneath the white snow, a crow-masked figure with glowing red eyes quietly raised a question. With a tactful tone, he subtly emphasized the absurdity of his faction's reconnaissance method, too public, too easily detected. And he did not ask randomly, but turned to await a reaction from the one truly controlling the game. Michael, the white-haired vampire of the Decassus clan, smiled faintly with hidden meaning. With sharp eyes and a disdainful tone, he acknowledged the masked man's intelligence. But his gaze showed no worry. Everything was proceeding according to his plan, even as the opponent began to suspect. Michael summoned Ophelia amid the snowstorm, assigning her the task to immediately proceed to the freshwater lake, a place that seemed poised for a strategic turning point. Michael expressed suspicion when unable to contact the Frost Blade tribe, also concluding that Kang Jinhyuk might have persuaded them to join his side. The reconnaissance drones were likely just bait to mislead. Without hesitation, Michael ordered, if Caracal showed any suspicious signs, Ophelia must eliminate him entirely without delay. The order was met with absolute obedience. Michael turned to Bershan, ordering preparation of that thing, a weapon or ritual not yet revealed but clearly decisive for the next move. Under the dense snowstorm, Michael's giant wings flapped fiercely, signaling an important action about to take place, igniting a direct intervention. With a calm yet dangerous demeanor, Michael declared he would personally deal with the harassing drones, words that made the owl-masked man bow gratefully, calling him Lord Michael. Focusing his power, Michael's eyes blazed bright red, releasing a powerful magical energy burst, a sign of activating a high-level skill. The system confirmed the weather change skill had been activated. Tornado winds swept through the ice forest, signaling that the environment would become Michael's weapon. The reconnaissance drones were unable to react to the fierce vortex. They were sucked into the center, shattering with crack and snap sounds echoing through the storm. On the opposite side, Kang Jin-hyuk's allies raised the alarm. All drones had lost signal. The undeniable truth, the enemy had detected them and was actively counterattacking. Yeonhwa summoned the Ticheng Hwarang Wei skill, flames engulfing her body like a declaration of war. Knowing the enemy was about to appear, she ordered Taemin to prepare for battle. Responding to Yeonhwa, Taemin quickly deployed the control system, his fingers swiftly gliding over the glowing interface, showing full readiness for the upcoming fight. In front of Taemin, multiple control screens appeared, detailing terrain conditions, drone positions, and tactical simulations. He was arranging formations like a general commander. The Army Fortress skill was officially activated by Taemin. A giant mechanized fortress from the digital space began to materialize, ready for combat. Mechanical Army CEDUS appeared, demonstrating Taemin's technological power. His face showed clear confidence as the mechanical army under his command took position. On the other side of the battlefield, the howl of a black wolf shattered the silence of the white snowfield, like a summons to the ambushers. One of the masked enemies bent down to stroke a giant mount, preparing to give orders. The tense atmosphere was thick as before a snowstorm. Under the snow-covered trees, the opposing snow warriors gathered. The commander gave a clear order, "Prepare to attack," signaling the imminent battle. From afar, a female warrior riding a spear-shaped weapon soared through the air. Her speed and demeanor showed she was not here to negotiate, but to strike preemptively. Michael observed the developments from afar, silently realizing Jin-hyuk's scheme. He guessed the opponent was using the ice trolls as shields to seize the phoenix feathers, a plan both bold and sophisticated. Ophelia dashed like a gust of wind on her flying spear, heading straight toward the rugged terrain near the freshwater lake, where she knew a crucial point in the upcoming confrontation lay. Ophelia's glowing red eyes widened, reflecting surprise at the sudden scene before her, an unexpected development beyond her prediction. In front of her, Kang Jin-hyuk rode on the back of the ice troll chief, waving the BFF flag high, as if mocking the enemy with this improbable alliance. Seeing that confidence, Ophelia sneered slightly. As her hands began to gather magical power, she reminded herself that the main base's location at the Lake Canyon was no coincidence. Activating the storm magic skill, Ophelia shouted triumphantly amid a swirl of crimson magic, ready to annihilate all enemies in a single strike. From above, the dark red magic burst into a giant tornado, engulfing the entire area with overwhelming power, like wrath descending from the heavens. The magical explosion shattered the ground with an earth-shaking roar, creating destructive pressure enough to crush any creature unable to react below. The earth and rocks shattered and collapsed as a clear response to Ophelia's attack, marking the beginning of the terrain's downfall around the lake. Amid the scattered snow, Ophelia's feet lightly touched the ground with proud confidence, as if certain of victory from the start. With a bewitching smile revealing her fangs, she casually uttered words full of deadly intent, regretting not failure but the sweet scent of blood she missed tasting. A terrible sound echoed from the frozen lake, creating strong tremors in the area. Thick snow was blown away, revealing signs of a recent attack or disaster. Yeonhwa turned back anxiously, her gaze directed toward the lake where Jin-hyuk was. She sensed something unusual from the sound and expressed concern whether Jin-hyuk was in danger. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded behind her. Jin-hyuk appeared unscathed, accompanied by a sinister smile. His sudden appearance made the engineer scream in shock. The group was stunned as Jin-hyuk stepped out as if he had never left the area. Taemin was so frightened he collapsed onto the snow, unable to understand how Jin-hyuk returned so quickly. Yeonhwa frowned thoughtfully, feeling something was wrong. If Jin-hyuk was standing here, then who or what remained at the lake where the explosion had just occurred? Jin-hyuk slightly curled his lips, a smile full of hidden meaning. He said nothing, but his sparkling eyes showed his plan was progressing as intended. Meanwhile, on the other side, Alice was falling into extreme confusion as she realized something was very wrong. Where enemy troops should have been, there was only an empty and strange scene. The illusion faded. Monsters and machines appeared with distorted effects as if being decoded. The illusionary veil shattered piece by piece before Alice in shock. A notification appeared confirming, 2-star barrier illusion has been disabled. Alice stood amid chaotic swirling light, witnessing the entire world around her dissolve. Alice screamed in horror, realizing everything she had seen before was just a staged illusion. Questions flooded her mind. Why did he do this? And what was Jin-hyuk's true purpose? Alice's eyes widened, clearly showing astonishment. The unexpected event before her left her no choice but to react. A pure light burst forth in midair as Teresa activated the Blessing of the Stars skill. Amid the radiance, she proudly stepped forward like a warrior empowered by destiny. Standing firm with shield and sword, Teresa issued an ultimatum to the enemy: surrender to save their lives. Her declaration was not a threat but a final chance. Alice smiled, revealing her characteristic fangs. She admitted the previous plan was so clever it completely deceived even her. Filled with contempt, Alice summoned fiery red magic from the mysterious orb in her hand. She growled, declaring her disdain for all divine powers. Elsewhere, Song Chunwa knelt on the cold snow. With a serious and determined expression, she prepared to enter the fray with readiness. In just a moment, Chunwa suddenly dashed forward like a living arrow. Her face wild with excitement, she prepared to throw the first punch to start the battle. An explosion echoed throughout the snowy mountains. Chunwa's shadow appeared amid the white dust, causing enemies to exclaim they had detected an intruder. The masked commander immediately shouted loudly, warning soldiers not to underestimate even a single opponent. With an angry slogan, he ordered a full-scale attack. The dark arrow skill was activated in an instant. A masked man summoned dark arrows while riding a black wolf forward, ready to confront the enemy. Through the dense snow, Yonhwa dashed through a series of dark purple magical explosions, precisely dodging each attack while counterattacking with superior physical strength. Every step she took was a devastating blow to the enemy. She paused momentarily midair as ice blades rained down from above, reflecting in her bright red eyes activated by her skill. Her body tensed, ready for the next counterattack. From afar, a teammate shouted loudly to boost her courage. "Advance, Yonhwa!" Amidst the robot and mage defenses, he became a reliable rear guard supporting her in this uneven battle. As waves of magical attacks surrounded them from all sides, a blue energy shield, Mana Shield, was activated, protecting the group from the hail of firepower exploding around them like fireworks in the snowy sky. The masked enemy shouted angrily upon seeing his side attack first. Despite superior numbers, he could not believe the enemy dared to boldly initiate the battle with such a preemptive strike. Through the hazy view of dust and falling snow, giant spears were deeply planted in the ground, trembling rhythmically, signaling a newly established formation, possibly a trap or a signal for a wide-scale attack. From the ground, one warrior leapt violently into the air, leaving a white shockwave beneath his feet. The surrounding air seemed to tremble from the impending strike. With a fist glowing red like molten lava and burning eyes full of determination, the male warrior roared, delivering an unstoppable, powerful punch from above, a blow carrying all his will. Teresa, clad in armor radiating a halo, raised her shield to block the descending strike. Her face was full of determination, reacting instantly, allowing no gap for her opponent. The collision exploded between two opposing energies, forming a giant pillar of light shaped like a sacred cross piercing the sky. The entire battlefield shook with the resounding sound of a divine clash. Holy light blazed brightly from Teresa's eyes, signaling she had pushed her power to the limit. She gripped her radiant sword tightly, her fighting spirit stronger than ever, ready to crush the enemy before her. The noble vampire howled in pain as his body was burned by holy fire. Forced to defend against Teresa's overwhelming attack, he gritted his teeth and shouted that divine power was truly troublesome. The holy light from the distant battle illuminated the snowy sky. The monsters paused briefly, their eyes filled with astonishment, but then survival instinct pulled them back to the harsh reality. The leader of the monster group coldly ordered to continue the journey. Knowing a fierce battle lay behind, he urged the group to move faster. For him, there was no time for hesitation. A giant creature stood towering amid the snowstorm, eyes filled with killing intent looking into the distance. He muttered that the war had truly begun. No turning back now, all had entered a world of destruction and survival. Teresa activated her holy power, fiercely attacking with a glowing sword and shield, pushing back the opponent with overwhelming holy light force. The strike hit the vampire's face, causing him to flip backward, slammed against the rock wall, roaring in anger and pain. Seizing the opportunity, Teresa shot up to the sky at the speed of light, creating a stream of sacred energy piercing through the battlefield before striking down like thunder. The enemy was blown away, his body crashing hard into the ice layer. The ground cracked open, and he fell with a terrified and defeated expression. Falling amid the snow and ice, he gasped for breath and gritted his teeth in anger, calling Teresa a dirty paladin, clearly showing his helplessness in a direct confrontation. Teresa calmly advanced toward him, each step heavy with momentum, her eyes blazing, her cold voice. "You really irritate me." Despite being at a disadvantage, the vampire smiled deceitfully and whispered a scheme, revealing that while they fought, Teresa's teammates were being ambushed by the demon clan. He tried to provoke and mock that her companions must be begging for their lives now, attempting to shake the paladin's resolve. Teresa paused briefly, but the corner of her mouth curled up confidently. Her cold words rang out, "I don't think so." She raised her head high, her eyes shining brightly, firmly declaring, "They are not that weak." Then she lifted her sword, ready for the next strike. A soldier was mercilessly grabbed by the head, screaming in panic and despair as he felt his life being crushed in the hands of an enemy far beyond his ability to resist. Yu Yonhwa delivered a fatal punch. The force from her arm twisted the soldier's head to one side. Blood splattered with a chilling thwack sound, marking the start of an unrelenting counterattack. Not giving the enemy a chance to react, she charged straight into their formation, colliding fiercely and sending soldiers and mounts flying into the air, creating chaos amid the snowstorm. From afar, a figure wearing a sinister bird mask watched with glowing red eyes. He quietly whispered Yu Yonhwa's name, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He acknowledged her strength, admiring her ability to crush an entire army alone without breaking a sweat, calling her a true monster. At this moment, with Teresa absent, who had supported the front line with holy power, he smiled confidently, believing this time they could turn the tide and capture the opposing group. Immediately, orders were given. The darkest warriors charged in unison, surrounding Yu Yonhwa once again. But within the encirclement, she remained calm and ready. The enemy attacked from multiple directions, but Yonhwa, with fierce eyes burning with killing intent, moved decisively, launching counterattacks amid a rain of spears falling overhead. Though still dominating the enemy, Yonhwa silently admitted the battle was becoming tougher. Teresa's absence deprived her of the holy buff that had helped her easily turn the tide. Under the swirling snow, Yonhwa threw a punch forward, shouting, "Teemin!" A call filled with worry as she realized her comrade might be in danger amid the chaotic encirclement. In the snowy mist above, a series of strange hexagonal devices hovered and spun, emitting sparkling blue light. The bizarre scene made the enemy troops and mounts look up in astonishment, unprepared for the impending disaster. An enemy dressed in black with a distinctive mask looked up in shock. His trembling voice uttered, "What is that?" His instincts warned him of the looming danger, but it was too late to stop it. Behind the thick snow, a modern tactical complex was deployed. Teemin, coldly operating the magical control panel, activated the device. Anti-tank magic mines. Behind him, a squad of armored mechs silently awaited orders. The deafening blast signaled a wide-area explosion. The magical mines simultaneously detonated within the enemy formation, creating towering blue flames that swept away everything within the radius. The booming boom echoed like thunder amid the snowstorm. Taking advantage of the chaos from the explosion, Yonhwa immediately dashed out of the battlefield. Despite cold, sweat pouring, and heavy breathing, she exerted all her strength to run, pushing aside bodily pain, knowing this was the only chance for a strategic retreat. As soon as they noticed Yonhwa retreating, the enemy shouted an alarm. "She's escaping! We can't let her get away!" Panic was evident in their voices as they witnessed their lines breaking and the battle turning unexpectedly. Riding war wolves, the soldiers immediately accelerated in pursuit of Yonhwa, fleeing direction. One of them shouted angrily, "Running away in the middle of battle! Coward, catch her!" However, the distance between them kept growing. In a red-tinged void, an evil spirit awakened. The familiar voice of an anonymous figure echoed, "Lancelot, you are truly foolish. This is a trap." The warning struck a truth that the overconfident enemy had forgotten. Lancelot froze, eyes wide and face pale. Cold sweat dripped down his cheek as he realized the truth. The pursuit plan might be a feint. His inner turmoil surged, the line between decisiveness and trap becoming clear. Not daring to take further risks, Lancelot blew a whistle to summon reinforcements. The piercing sound cut through the thick snow like a final alarm bell on the chaotic battlefield. But was his reaction already too late? One of the enemy cavalry suddenly pulled the reins, ordering to halt the chase. The giant wolf slid on the snow, its sharp eyes sensing something unusual ahead. Inside the mountain pass, Yonhwa and her teammates gasped for breath after the tense escape. Both were stunned to see the enemy no longer closely pursuing as expected. Surprise was clear in their hurried voices. Behind a rock, magical mines were hidden beneath the cold snow. The trap was set, waiting for the enemy to fall into it, but now they were useless as no one stepped into this area. Jinhyuk stood at the entrance, his gaze thoughtful as he sensed something wrong. If the enemy had discovered their plan, all the magical traps they had arranged before were now nothing but discarded tools. A flash of realization lit up Jinhyuk's eyes. He immediately widened his eyes, his body tense as if he had just understood a danger approaching very close. Without hesitation, Jinhyuk shouted loudly, ordering everyone to immediately retreat from the mountainside. His voice echoed through the snowstorm, full of warning and urgency. Right after the warning, the space trembled from a powerful magical attack. Dark Projectile was activated, firing a barrage of black-purple energy spheres tearing through the sky. The explosions thundered down like lightning, each column of snow blown away in dazzling purple light. The ground shook, trees and enemies torn apart by fierce destructive force. Large combat machines were caught in the blast, exploding and shattering under the power of destructive magic. The space became chaotic, stained with brutal devastation. Seizing the opportunity, Jin-hyuk's group immediately moved. They rushed to retreat through the mountain pass, hurried footsteps blending with howling wind, signaling a new fierce battle about to erupt. Crossing the dense, snowy forest, Jin-hyuk's group finally emerged from cover. However, the tracks they left on the snow were immediately detected by the enemy. The chase was not over yet. Not missing the opportunity, one of the masked knights ordered to move around the forest edge, initiating a pursuit with superior speed thanks to the giant wolves. The wolf-riding knight growled confidently, mocking Jin-hyuk's group's choice. With the snowy terrain, he believed there was no way for ordinary humans to escape the snow wolves. Jin-hyuk led the group, silently climbing the slope in the cold wind, followed by Yeonwoo and Taemin struggling to keep up, unaware that the enemy was closing the distance. Taemin gasped in the snowy air, his legs nearly buckling from exhaustion. Yeonwoo looked back anxiously, urging him on, knowing that a single second's delay could cost a life. The shout "Charge!" echoed behind like thunder. The snow wolves and knights were close, only a few steps away from capturing Jin-hyuk's group. Suddenly, a strange vibration passed through the ground. Leading the pursuit, the masked knight halted, his face showing alertness. Something unusual lay ahead. His eyes suddenly widened in extreme surprise as he recognized the silhouette waiting ahead, a figure unexpected, radiating an aura that made him hiss in fury. "Is that you?" Jin-hyuk along with Yeonwoo and Taemin abruptly stopped upon seeing someone standing ready on the mountainside. The long coat fluttered, exuding a cold aura. This person belonged to no known faction. The group faced the mysterious figure, purple glowing eyes beneath a snow hood, standing motionless like a statue, causing the enemy behind to exclaim in confusion, "Stranger!" The Guild China headquarters towered in the city center, reflecting bright electric lights, signaling a force preparing to enter a major upheaval. Two bodyguards immediately recognized the newcomer, reacting instantly with caution and tension as the uninvited approached step by step. The stranger calmly pulled a round metallic object from his pocket, a flash of light from the item making the surrounding air suffocating. Inside the office, another bodyguard suddenly received urgent news through his earpiece, his expression changing as the information caused confusion and panic. He hurriedly rushed to report the situation to Namgung, the powerful figure standing with his back turned, still maintaining a cold calm despite the unusual chaos. But before the warning could be fully delivered, a sudden massive explosion erupted, blowing up the entire room in blinding light and terrifying sound. Namgung was thrown by the blast, spinning around in shock without understanding what was happening, his eyes showing unease for the first time. Amidst the smoke and collapsing walls, the stranger emerged wearing a dark mask and glowing purple eyes. He was Unknown, the harbinger of chaos. Unknown pulled out a piece of paper from his coat, preparing to deliver a direct declaration of war to all of Guild China, every action exuding arrogance and challenge. He read the message aloud with a mocking tone, harshly belittling Guild China, comparing them to nothing more than tools used in nursing homes, and suggesting they should open a restaurant instead of running a guild. Namgung was stunned upon hearing the arrogant declaration of the intruder. The confidence and arrogance in the voice made him momentarily flustered, unable to believe his ears. Meanwhile, Unknown's voice continued to ring out firmly amid the chaos and ruins, affirming his victory over Guild China. The three strongest enemy warriors lying defeated on the ground were clear proof of that claim. Namgung tried to refute, angrily interrupting Unknown. However, he was quickly stopped by the imposing presence and decisive challenge. If he did not submit, he should go to the 7th floor to prove his strength. As Namgung tried to say more, Unknown continued his declaration arrogantly. Not only him, but also the strongest in the universe, Kang Jin-hyuk, would destroy the entire Guild China if they dared to remain arrogant. Rage surged to the extreme. Namgung shouted with bloodshot eyes, calling the opponent a scum and questioning his manners, a fury mixed with deep wounded pride. Ignoring Namgung's anger, Unknown coldly turned his back, flicking his hand to throw out an object like a full stop, leaving a gentle but deadly remark. Then, goodbye. In the next second, a fierce explosion tore through the top floor of the Guild China building. Flames erupted in the night, a testament to the humiliation just dealt by the intruder. Namgung could not hide the boiling fury within. His heavy breathing and blazing eyes showed he was completely losing control, his pride deeply insulted. Elsewhere, Kang Jin-hyuk stood silently before the sudden appearance of an army. Warriors clad in purple robes and carrying long spears followed his comrades, ready for a new confrontation. The bird-masked figure saw the situation and immediately panicked. He had never received any report that Unknown had allies, and he could not explain this situation. An enemy member panicked upon realizing the approaching group was Kang Jin-hyuk's forces, led by Nam Gung-chin. The presence of many masters made him instantly feel the increasing pressure. Amid the snowstorm, the Guild China leader's face grew tense and angry. He gritted his teeth, unable to accept the fact that Jin-hyuk, once seemingly alone, could bring along such a powerful formation. The atmosphere thickened as the two sides officially moved to confront each other. The sound of footsteps crunching on snow echoed in the cold air, signaling an unavoidable battle. As the formation continued moving, Nam Gung-chin whispered to Jin-hyuk with a tone of reproach mixed with dissatisfaction for being forced to read a ridiculous script. Jin-hyuk just smiled, calmly responding with an irritating serenity. Still wearing a mocking smile, Jin-hyuk lunged forward, challenging his opponent to a one-on-one fight. Without hesitation, he ignited his fighting spirit with a decisive charge. An enemy warrior with bizarre power reacted, unleashing a purple energy wave to counter Jin-hyuk's deadly strike. The clash between these two powerful forces was gradually deciding the outcome. Two massive energy streams collided on the snowy battlefield, creating a shocking explosion. The residual force caused the ground to tremble and snow to be blown away like ocean waves. Without delay, the enemy commander ordered a full-scale attack. Furious shouts echoed from both the Guild China leader and masked officers, marking the start of a fierce battle. A narrative interjection added a humorous comment. With just a few simple misunderstandings, a hardcore gamer had caused two mighty forces, Guild China and the Demon Horde, to clash in a battle no one truly understood why it began. Jin-hyuk stood amid the chaos, laughing heartily. In his mind, everything was unfolding exactly as he had scripted, a chaotic battle distorted by his characteristic wit and sarcasm. Shouts echoed as the legion in red and black attire of the Chinese guild charged forward, stirring a fierce battlefield atmosphere amid the snow-covered white landscape. A member of the Demonic One's faction activated the skill Knight's Oath, his hand glowing brightly, ordering a swift elimination of the enemy to focus on the masked figure, Unknown. On the opposing side, the purple-haired leader immediately unleashed the Enhanced Sword Aura move, swinging his sword through the icy snow, urging his subordinates to quickly take down opponents to hunt Kang Jin-hyuk. Both sides officially engaged in combat. The clang of metal clashing resounded across the frozen battlefield, signaling the start of a fierce melee. In the midst of battle, Jin-hyuk's white wolf beast leapt forward, biting an enemy, while Jin-hyuk stood calmly at a distance, observing the entire scene. Kang Jin-hyuk smiled slyly, leisurely turning his back and walking away while the enemies were still fighting fiercely, letting them destroy each other. Jin-hyuk's team reached a permanently frozen mountain pass known as the Unmelting Valley, a secret location only he knew about. Inside the cave, the teammates were gasping from the cold and the recent battle. They suggested resting to prepare for the next plan. As the group ventured deeper into the cave, they unexpectedly encountered a giant frost troll. One troll greeted them with a deep voice, startling everyone and calling out Jin-hyuk's name. Calm as usual, Jin-hyuk explained that the trolls had once been controlled by vampires, but had now pledged allegiance to him in gratitude for their liberation. Surprised, Kim Giddy reluctantly acknowledged Jin-hyuk's talent for recruiting allies. Although gripping his sword hilt tightly, he was quickly caught by Jin-hyuk's mocking tone for that action. The group entered the secret base of the clan, where a familiar figure suddenly appeared. Captain Jang Yoon-seok, once a respected commander, now sat with his head bowed, a hostage in Jin-hyuk's plan. While everyone was still regaining composure, Jin-hyuk noticed a strange scene. Tribal children caring for a female warrior with a remorseful expression. Teresa bowed her head in admission of fault. Although tasked with stopping her, she had let Ophelia escape. In her hand was a child's toy, a sign that she had just endured a fierce battle along with responsibility for weaker allies. Instead of blaming her, Jin-hyuk just smiled. He understood that capturing a noble vampire like Ophelia was not easy and still appreciated Teresa's efforts. The group gathered around the fire, discussing the next step. One member anxiously asked about the upcoming plan, while Jin-hyuk admitted that everything was beyond his initial calculations. Jin-hyuk began presenting a new strategy. He identified the enemy's next target as the island holding the Phoenix Feather, an essential item to leave the tower, and fortunately his group had arrived first. With precious time in hand, Jin-hyuk declared he would use the current advantage to prepare for battle. But when asked specifically what preparations, he remained silent and smiled mysteriously. A calculating smile appeared on Jin-hyuk's face. Clearly, he had his own plan but was not yet ready to reveal it. Once again, he demonstrated leadership amid chaos. Jin-hyuk's footsteps sank deep into the cold snow, symbolizing firm determination. He uttered only two brief words, everything, as a pledge to thoroughly prepare for the upcoming battle. A new group emerged from the cold mist, their demeanor serious. Amid the blizzard-surrounded scene, their faces were cold yet resilient, reflecting their determination to overcome the challenges ahead. A radiant red gem glowed in the troll chieftain's hand. It was the soul, crystallized from magic they had secretly accumulated over a long time to overthrow Michael, their longtime oppressor. With solemnity, the chieftain handed the precious soul gem back to Jin-hyuk, emphasizing that it was proof of absolute trust, a reward not only material, but also of loyalty. Looking at the glowing crystal in his hand, Jin-hyuk immediately realized this was the soul event mechanism that usually occurs when a tribe accepts conquest, a sophisticated system of power transfer. Although deeply trusted by the chieftain, Jin-hyuk pondered that the man had seriously misunderstood. The recent event was not born from the noble sacrifice they believed. The battle oath was spoken by the chieftain himself as he gripped his weapon with all his strength. The fighting spirit was ignited within the cold cave. The troll chieftain raised his mighty battle axe high, his roar echoing through the space, an official declaration to start the war for freedom and end all vampire slavery chains. Standing at the edge of the earth-shaking event, Jin-hyuk merely smirked, a calculating expression as if everything was part of a prearranged plan. In the softly glowing space, a necklace hovered radiating light, a symbol of the concept of freedom that Jin-hyuk was gradually manipulating to shape the game's outcome. A panoramic view of the icy island appeared, covered in white snow and rugged terrain. Before them lay the future battlefield, where Jin-hyuk uttered a simple but decisive phrase, "Let's begin." Snow fell heavily, each heavy footprint deeply imprinted on the white ground. Someone was advancing toward the center of the battlefield where the fight was set. From above, a perfect magic circle drawn by footsteps appeared in the snowy forest. In the center of that circle, Jin-hyuk stood silently waiting, as if inviting the enemy into his trap. Jin-hyuk tilted his head upward, eyes cold as steel. Clenching his sword hilt, he whispered calmly yet meaningfully, "Quite bold." In the snow-covered sky, Michael, with huge bat wings, appeared arrogantly. He smiled mockingly, believing Jin-hyuk had been too hasty in revealing his position. Michael landed amid the falling snow, each step radiating killing intent. He began listing Jin-hyuk's crimes, inciting demons against humans, and exploiting Caracal to balance factions. With a half-smile and provocative look, Michael did not hesitate to call Jin-hyuk clever, but he quickly reversed, questioning why someone like him acted so recklessly. Without replying, Jin-hyuk summoned soul essence and absorbed it. His magic power immediately surged from 113 to 320, preparing for a life-or-death battle. His eyes glowed red in an energy explosion. The Eye of Gluttony skill activated. Jin-hyuk coldly confirmed. The one before him was Michael, his ultimate target. Jin-hyuk did not hesitate to name Michael and reveal his hand. He had guessed the enemy's true goal, to use the phoenix feather to leave the tower and break free from captivity rules. Michael smiled smugly, impressed by Jin-hyuk's deduction. However, he also cleverly set a verbal trap, probing whether Jin-hyuk was involved in Alice's escape. Jin-hyuk calmly responded to the question about Alice with indifference and feigned ignorance, as if he was completely unfamiliar with that name, despite the increasingly tense atmosphere. Michael sneered, not fooled by the evasive denial. He firmly asserted his long-held suspicion that the one who helped Alice escape was none other than Jin-hyuk. Michael's red eyes showed clear menace as he pressed for Alice's whereabouts, accompanied by a venomous promise that he would spare Jin-hyuk's life if he revealed her location. Jin-hyuk frowned as Michael continued to reveal that even Ophelia had targeted his blood. He silently lamented being constantly seen as a mobile lunchbox by vampires. With a mix of annoyance and disdain, Jin-hyuk firmly rejected the cold-blooded offer. But instead of retreating, he shifted focus and questioned Michael why the creatures in the tower were so eager to leave this place. A half-smile appeared on Michael's face as he heard the question, as if hiding a great truth behind it that Jin-hyuk had yet to uncover. Noticing the unusual reaction, Jin-hyuk immediately launched into an attack stance, setting the stage for an inevitable confrontation. Jin-hyuk's eyes flashed bright red, a signal that a skill was being activated. A powerful wave of magic radiated, shaking the surrounding space. His sword blazed with magical runes, tracing a deadly arc toward the enemy in a sudden surprise strike. Circles of radiant aura containing fiery red runes spun fiercely on the snow, marking the start of a battle that could change the fate of the entire tower floor. The sound of wings flapping echoed through the snowy forest, signaling an ominous sign. Blackbirds took flight simultaneously, reacting to the terrible magic just summoned below. On the pure white snow, a blood-red magic circle appeared at the mountain pass, glowing with a dark red light. It was the Blood Wayport, an evil gate opened by sacrifice. Michael coldly declared the spell's name, Blood Wayport. With this power, he could summon blood creatures simply by sacrificing humans, and people had willingly offered themselves at the gate. Distorted, grotesque forms began twisting up from the summoning circle. Michael called them Preta, irrational beings born from blood and resentment. He smiled with delight at the gruesome sight. Kang Jinhyuk tightened his grip on his sword hilt, facing the Preta horde with determined eyes. Michael casually revealed his plot, to use the phoenix feather to bring the Preta army out of the tower and expand their blood harvest in the outside world. Michael's voice grew excited. He declared a grand plan, to use human blood to produce endless Preta, nurturing a massive army capable of dominating the entire Tower of Trials. Jin-hyuk silently analyzed. The magic symbol of Blood Wayport was completely unfamiliar, he suspected. Could the existence of humans outside the tower be a mutation factor that disrupted the original trajectory? The dangerous vampire grinned slyly, coldly ordering in an irresistible tone, "Bring the phoenix feather here." Immediately after Michael's command, the Preta howled in fury and charged toward Jinhyuk. A life-or-death battle was set. Surrounded by monsters, Kang Jinhyuk smiled defiantly. He slowly drew his sword, ready to fight. "You've prepared a troublesome opponent," he whispered. The Preta with sharp teeth darted like blood arrows, slicing through the wind in the snowy forest. They were not mere creatures, but weapons of a greater conspiracy, summoned for destruction. Despite the terrifying power of the monster horde, explosions erupted as they closed in. Each Preta was shot down one by one, yet the enemies kept pouring forward. A resilient group of players stood firm in the snowy wind, ready to face danger head-on. Knowing they might die, they vowed not to easily give up the phoenix feather, the key to this battle. From afar, a silver-haired vampire squinted toward the battlefield. Sensing unusual activity, he curled his lips in a cold smile, suspecting the enemy was plotting a sneak attack behind his back. With a slight motion, he summoned his true weapon, a dark crescent shaped like the wings of death, radiating an overwhelming aura across the snow-covered scene. The skilled daylight was suddenly activated. A giant blue light like the sun burst forth, sweeping across the sky and blowing away everything in its path. A powerful counterattack had been unleashed. Jin-hyuk tightened his grip on the energy bow in his hand, his cold eyes fixed ahead. He didn't need anyone to worry for him, just for the enemies to know they had chosen the wrong opponent. A stream of icy energy began creeping beneath the ground, accompanied by a howling sound, signaling a trap gradually being activated beneath the cold snow layer. A blazing red hand with sharp claws suddenly emerged from the earth, breaking through the ice and snow. Dense black air and dark magic radiated, signaling a new creature being summoned. From the midst of thick blood and black smoke, a new grotesque enemy appeared, standing tall on an icy stone pedestal. The vampire smiled smugly. The real game was just beginning. Red eyes and a twisted smile appeared clearly on the face of the Preta leader as his fury reached its peak. Facing challenge and damage to his plan, he hissed with deadly intent, "I will make you beg for death." His rage had now surpassed strategic limits, becoming blind fury unleashed on the obstacle before him.